ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, everybody in this world loves food, but what energy goes into that food? Most often we don't pay attention to this, but it is probably one of the most important things that you can do in your life is to take care and pay attention to what type of energy is going in the food that you eat, that you consume. This affects your mental health. This affects your physical health. This affects your spirituality. You know that question that everybody has of why can't I focus while I'm reading my Nityanem? Why can't I focus while I'm listening to Kirtan? Why do I have these thoughts coming in my head? It's because of what you eat. Now, there's a saying by the saints. It goes, Jaisa an, taisa man. Meaning that the type of food that you eat, it becomes your mind. Whatever you eat, that's what you think about. That becomes your consciousness. So one thing that we have to know is, how does the energy go into our food? That depends on who's cooking it. Now we might think that, oh well, I can't cook my own food, I don't have a time, I don't have the means to be able to do this. But pyareo, we can all make time. There's people that are extremely busy, but they meal prep, they take out the time to make food. If you have enough time to order and scroll on Instagram, to do all of these things, then you have enough time to teach yourself how to cook. This is one of the basic disciplines that you need to know in order to become a fully functioning Sikh, a fully functioning member of the Khalsa Panth. Now, who makes your food? Let's discuss this. Everybody has their own aura. Everybody has their own energy. When you meet somebody, you can feel this energy. When you sit beside a saint, you can feel that vibration. When you sit beside somebody with a really negative energy, you can feel that energy. Now, when somebody is making that food, the moment food is touched, keep this in mind. Guru Baba will discuss it, how it mentions it in Gurbani as well, because I know a lot of people in the comments might be like, well, he's just making stuff up, this can't be true, where in Gurbani does it say it? We'll discuss that as well. I just need you to pay attention to me at the beginning first. As soon as someone touches your food, there is an energy transfer. The reason why we drink Amrit, Khande Batte da Amrit, and the reason why we don't have anybody making that Amrit, as a Sikh, the ambrosial nectar is made by 5 Gursikhs who are completely pure in their life. They read Gurbani in their life. They are fully practicing Sikhs. They save themselves and restrain themselves from sin and pap and vices. These 5 members are selected by the community to be able to sit in the position of the great blessed saints, Bhai Daya Singh Ji, Bhai Dharam Singh Ji, Bhai Himmat Singh Ji, and etc. When these 5 Gursikhs, when they sit in their place, they put their hands on top of this iron batta, this iron bowl, which represents each hand, meaning there's 10 hands touching that bowl, meaning each hand is a hand of one of the 10 gurus. When their eyes are looking inside of that bowl at the water, it's not just their eyes, there's 5 eyes, or there are 5 sets of eyes, meaning 10 eyes, meaning they're all the eyes of the 10 Guru Sahibs looking into that bowl. They work through this. The energy is being transferred through that body. And now what they're thinking about, what they're saying, what they're reciting during that moment, that makes a difference as well. They're reading Panjabani, they're reading Gurbani. And that Gurbani that's being read by those Gursikhs that are looking and touching that bowl, that water turns into Amrit. It's not water anymore. Prior to it being poured inside of that bowl, it was water. But now it's turned into Amrit, and now whoever is touched by that Amrit, that transfers and changes their life. That's why we call it Amrit. We call it ambrosial nectar. It's not water anymore. It's much different than what we might think in the Western world is holy water. But no, this water is the direct essence of Akal Purkh. When we make deg, this is all from Guru's Maryada, the Guru's house. When we make deg, Kada Prashadi deg, the pudding that's served inside of the Guru's Darbar, when that's made, the person that's making it has to be a fully functioning and ever-ready Gursikh. They have to be reading Gurbani, they have to be living their life restraining from vices. And when they read it, they have to be reading Japji Sahib da Path. When they read Japji Sahib, they have to be looking in the bowl as well. And they have to be reciting with pure love. They can't be talking to their friends. Oh, sister, what'd you do yesterday? What's your daughter doing today? When's she getting married? No, none of these conversations. Are you talking about, oh, what was the next NBA game? What was the score? No, none of these conversations should take place when you are making food. You should be thinking about your love for your Guru. You should be reciting Gurbani. That vibration, that essence, gets transferred into your food. And your food, when you consume it, that affects the thoughts of your mind. Now, if somebody else is making your food, let's say you go to a restaurant and you order your food from the waitress who's there for tips, and you all know the situations there, the songs that are playing there, who knows what cook is making the food in the back, who could be going out having a smoke, he could be swearing, he could, who knows, he could be spitting in your own in the food that you eat. Any of this stuff could be happening. There's no cleanliness, purity of washing the hands. It could be touching here. I've seen with my own eyes at Gurmat camps, like places where, some of these things, and people wonder, well, why don't we feel this from the food? It's because who's making the food? You hired a cook who I've seen with my own eyes. They go grab a fry while they're making it. They're just eating it while they're making it for what we call langar. Pyareo, this is not what langar is. Langar is you're serving Amrit to everyone, which har Amrit kheer ke alle. That's what Mata Kivi, Balwand Kivi, Nek Jan, Nin Bauti Shaupatrali, Langar Daulat Vandiya, Rasa Amrit kheer ke alle. Mata Kivi ji was not just serving food to everybody in the langar. They were actually serving their energy, their body that was filled with this Amrit Ras, filled with this ecstasy. When they were making that langar, it was being served to everybody. When everybody would eat that, it doesn't matter whether it tasted good or not, whatever, it was sweet or it was bitter. No, they felt the true essence of Amrit inside of their body. That's why they called them great. Now when somebody who's living their life in vices, or they're thinking that sort, their form of thoughts go into that food. When you consume that food, it affects you. It affects your thoughts, affects your well-being, affects you mentally, physically, spiritually, in all aspects. This may not sound reasonable to you, but I can tell you from my own life that I've experienced it. One day, I've eaten food. Next morning, I'm not able to wake up properly. I'm not able to read my Nitnem properly. It feels like I need to, I'm trying to struggle to read my Nitnem. But when Gursikhs make the food, when I eat from langar made properly, or when I make my food myself, or my family makes it while they're reading Gurbani, and there's Gurbani playing in the house, and there's Gursikhs, people that have that positive aura, that spiritual aura that's going into that food. As soon as I eat that, my mind is wanting to say, no, I want to read more and more Gurbani, more and more Gurbani. This is an experience that's not felt just by myself, by thousands of Gursikhs that do this on a daily basis, of making sure who is making their food. If there is no other way, make it yourself. Because only then you can guarantee that the form of energy going to that food, because you can make sure you are reciting on Gurbani and you are meditating on Waheguru while you're making that food. You can make sure before you prep the food that you're reciting Gurbani. As it's being cooked, as it's being heated, you're reciting Gurbani. Now, even in the Amrit Rahat Maryada, when you take Amrit, they tell you that these 5 types of people you don't want to be sharing, you don't want to be wedding your daughters or your children in these families, and you don't want to be sharing food with this. It might seem a bit extreme, but using all of these things, and especially in today's day when I saw an ad of Uber Eats the other day. It made absolutely no sense, and I was shocked that people would actually be doing this. That they're saying that, hey, you can order food now because of COVID-19. You can order all the food that you want, and you can freeze it and keep it for yourself. We'll deliver it for you. You ready-made food, you order it, we deliver it to you, and you freeze it and stock up your fridge. Now imagine that food over time, it's not fresh, it's not good for your health. You're stocking up on it. Okay, sure, I understand it's an emergency and all of this, but there's a lot of better ways around it. Who's making that food you're stocking up on, and you're eating that all day, and then you're sitting in isolation and you're thinking that, oh, I should just meditate on Paramatma now. It's never going to happen. Your mind will never allow you to. Your food makes a big difference. Now, going to how we should look at this, the 5 types of people in the Amrit that I mentioned that you don't want to be sharing this food with, is Nadimar, Kudimar, Ladkiyan bechan wale, Sirgun min munne. Let me translate that. Those people that do intoxicants, people that are doing drugs, anybody that consumes any form of drugs, no sharing food with them, no letting them cook your food. That is affecting your food. Anybody who kills daughters, anybody who has this mentality that we don't want a girl to be born in our family, so they abort the girl just because it's a girl. If it was a boy, they would have given birth to it. That type of mentality, no touching your food, no cooking your food. And those people that purposely sell their daughters away for money, for other reasons, you're not to be sharing food with them either. Anybody that cuts their hair or has no hair in this form. So cutting case is one of, as in the life of a Gursikh, believed to be one of the greatest bajrukrats, meaning going against the code of conduct. So as the Khalsa, there's no sharing of food with those types of auras and mentality. Now, it might seem extreme, might be like this, oh my God, it doesn't make sense, it's not practical, Pyareo. My beloved brothers and sisters, this has been practical. It might not be a norm today, it might not be a popular topic today, but it definitely can be done because Guru Sikhs have been doing it for ages and ages, for years, for their entire life. And the truth is that as soon as it becomes easier to do and more people begin to do it, becomes a trend, then everyone will love doing it. You can make it into a trend, a positive trend. Why make, silly things like dabbing and YOLO and what is that thing called? Twerking, all this kind of stuff. Why are you making that kind of stuff popular trends? Sure, there's great trends like the push-up challenges going on. Right, that's great. Everyone's doing it. There is the, trends of posting pictures of saints that inspire you on Instagram. Those are great trends. But now what about the trend of cooking your own food in a healthy way while reading Gurbani? Why don't I challenge you? I challenge you to cook the food while reading Gurbani challenge and post that on Instagram. Help make that a trend. Make it popular. It can be done. And everybody will begin to start feeling that the essence inside of their life and while they're reading Gurbani, while they're eating their food, while they're doing their nityanem. Now, in Gurbani, there comes a Shabad, Santan ka dana rukha so sarman dan, greh saakat shati prakar te bikhu saman. Let me translate that. It means that the food of saints, it might be rukha, it might be tasteless, it might be dry. But when compared to that food to that of somebody who is completely faithless, somebody that doesn't believe in God, doesn't meditate on God, doesn't have any positive energy within them, that food is like the world's treasure, the food of the saint that's touched by the saint. And then compared to the greh sakat, even if you go into the palace, the house of a faithless person, and they have 36 types of food, different dishes, you have the great, you know, the shahi paneers, and you have the great rices and the beautiful salty, sweet, spicy, zesty flavors. All of those foods, it's considered to be equivalent to poison, complete poison. Don't even dare touch that. Now we all know the story of Malakpago and Pai Lallo. Just to touch on it briefly, you can go onto our channel and watch the full historical dialogue of it. But to touch on it, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pai Mardana Ji, they went. There was a person by the name of Malakpago who invited Guru Nanak Dev Ji to their house and wanted to serve them food because he wanted to serve a saint that came into town. But he was a person that was living their life by doing unrighteous acts. The way he was making this money, the way he was earning his income to provide this food, it was completely unrighteous. He was oppressing people. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was not invited by the person's whose house they did go to. They didn't go to Malakpago, they went to the other person's house. By Lallo, this person had barely any food, had barely any money. He was out of flour in his house. Guru Nanak Dev Ji went up, knocked on his door and said, "Feed me." He entered the house. When they served food, even by Mardana Ji, who was accompanying Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he was wondering that, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we haven't eaten for so long, and when all this food is being served to us, then why are we coming here? The food was served by Pai Lallo. Very, very little dry bread was served. Guru Nanak Dev Ji ate it, and they said, "This to me tastes like the nectar from God. This to me is so fulfilling. Nothing can compare to this." Pyareo, the words of Guru Nanak Dev Ji in this Sakhi are this. When somebody asked them that this food is not, I'm not going to try to poison you. This food wasn't going to poison you. Why didn't you eat that other food? Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that yes, this food, as soon as I ate it, it might have tasted good. Definitely it would have made me feel full and satisfied my hunger. But it would have pinched me. It would have provided me pain. The next time Pai Mardana Ji began to play his rabab and he started praising God's name, then I wouldn't be able to focus. That's when the thorns of your food would have been pinching me. But this food, as soon as I eat it, the food of Pai Lallo, the food that is filled with nectar, even though it's dry, even though it's old, even though it has no flavor, there's no salt on it. But when I eat this food, it's going to become nectar for me. It's going to become supportive for me. It's going to become the path. It's going to be the rope that I can grab on to merge into my beloved God. That's how food affects you. So if you are going out to Joey's, if you're going out to these restaurants, Boston Pizza, as Gursikhs, after Ransbai Keetan saying, "Yo, let's go have a munch," you might want to rethink that. And keep this in mind. If somebody cannot control their food, me personally, I cannot consider you a disciplined Gursikh. Personally, I cannot. Controlling your tongue, controlling the way you eat, this is a basic discipline of a Gursikh. Now, I'm not just saying this from this Gursikh spirituality aspect, Gurbani aspect, historical aspect, personal experience aspect. Yes, there's a TED talk you can search up online. And the lady who's speaking about it, she's talking about the power of cooking as well. She's saying that if I made my food for my children, my 3 sons grew up and it affected, they were disciplined, they were doing this, they wanted something quick and fast to eat. So she made waste and healthier options to be able to do that. She didn't realize by doing all of these things, the way that it disciplined and affected her sons. So it's affecting you in a mentally, physically, and spiritual way. All of these things make a difference, even if you don't want to take my word for it. So Pyareo, making your food, learning how to make your own food. A lot of times we, in the Indian culture, the Eastern culture, you can say, I know a lot of my brothers and sisters, they know how to make food. You know, students come from India and they move to Canada. They have to struggle to make their own food. My wife is from India. She makes beautiful food. My mom's from India. She makes beautiful food. My dad and my grandfather, they're all from India. My dad can make beautiful prashade. But here's the thing. I know a lot of children that are born and raised in the Western culture that don't even know how to make a sandwich, that don't even know how to make dal or make a roti. Maybe we're growing up with, a lot of suhulta, a lot of easiness, very easy upbringing, where we're not needing to struggle. If you're not able to do the seva, the service for yourself, you won't be able to do the service for the Khalsa Panth. When a saint comes inside of your house, when you get to meet a saint, you're going to be struggling. And I've seen this happen. Born and raised 16, 17-year-old or even 18-year-old, Canada, US, UK born Gursikhs, guys and girls growing up, and they're in the Sangat, the sanctuary of a saint, and they're struggling. Oh, should I wash their hands like this? Should I feed them a prasada like this? Their seva for their own spiritual path is dependent on their parents. If the mom makes the food, then they can invite them over. The Maryada of the Khalsa, and there's clips of this stuff going online nowadays anyways. That's why, this is important for all of us to recognize that this aspect, the power of cooking your own food, is vital. It's probably the most important thing, if not the most important thing, and the first thing that a Gursikh should be taught. Santhya, reading Gurbani, all of these things, yes, you're being taught that. If you go and spend time with Gursikhs and these saints that train you, the first thing they'll get you to do is wash the dishes. First thing they'll get you to do is learn how to make sabji, make prashade. They'll make you wash the dishes, go and grab water, carry water. These are the things that used to be done during the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji as well. So it's absolutely important. Let me quickly recap this. The power of cooking your food affects you mentally, physically, spiritually. As soon as food is touched, that food is affected by the person who touched that food, who was making that food. That's why you want to make sure your food, the food that you consume, is made according to the Gursikhi Maryada. It's made by people who are living their life in positivity, that read Gurbani. While they're making the food, they're reading Gurbani. And then also, along with that, we want to remember that this food that we eat, it affects us when we go to listen to Kirtan, when we go and do our Nityanem, when we try to meditate. That's when it's really going to affect us. You might not feel like it's affecting you when you're going out with your friends and eating, grabbing a after Rans by munch. You might not feel it affecting, if it's affecting you there, but it is affecting you afterwards. And you don't take my word for it. You go and, try it out for yourself. Take out, 2 weeks and say, you know what, I'm not going to eat out. All the food that I'm going to eat, I'm going to make it myself while reading Gurbani. And then I'm going to try to consume this, make it healthy. And when I try to meditate, when I try to do my Nityanem, I'm going to try to feel, do I feel more connected to my Bani, my Gurbani, or do I feel less connected? And then when you eat out, you're going to feel completely less connected. And along with these things, if you're a Gursikh, this is mandatory for you. And for everybody else, yes, we're trying to get them on the path and get them to learn and instill these things into their life to help them get closer to God and spirituality. But if you're an Amritari Gursikh, it's mandatory. And with all of these things said, if there's a place where a saint sits and they meditate, and that vibration can be felt for hundreds of years after, the place where Mata Sahib Ji, Mai Sahib Kaur Ji, where they sat and they meditated for so long, that vibration is felt there. When the Gursikh saints like Sant Baba Nand Singh Ji, Sant Baba Isir Singh, Sant Baba Harnam Singh Ji, when they sit down, when they're reading Gurbani, the place where they sat, thousands of people flock to those places today, and they absorb the essence, that energy from that place where they meditated. There's a Pratan Maryada which tries to get cut out today. When you read Gurbani, they used to place a glass of water beside while they do their Nityanem. Or when an Akhand Path happens, when Gurbani is read for an extensive period of time, they place water beside that Gurbani. And once the Gurbani is finished being read, then that water is not considered water anymore. It's considered Amrit. And definitely there's scientific studies on it. When you speak sweetly to water, then the balance or the structure of the water, it's affected in a positive way. When you slander it, when it's in a negative environment, it gets affected in a negative way. So it's affecting water, and definitely that aura will be affecting your food. And going back to the saying of the saint, Jaisa an taisa man, just like the food that you eat, that becomes your mind. Pyareo, eat healthy, eat smart, eat spiritual. This will help you on your path to spirituality. This will help you, and this will help all of us collective in this time. You have this moment now to learn how to cook if you're sitting at home. Don't order food from Uber Eats. Don't try to make an easy way. No, learn to cook your food. This is very important, and this will help you on the path to becoming a great Gursikh. And so we can get together as a Sangat and revive these things that are continually being lost. And people today are cutting out just because for their own comfort, for ease. It's like, I'd rather not do this, I'd rather do this. Pyareo, we don't want to go down the path of comfort. We're blocking ourselves in. No, we want to open ourselves up. We want to dive into the discomforts, challenge ourselves so that we can remove our ego and become one with God. So Pyareo, if I've said anything wrong, if I've made any mistakes, please forgive me. If you have something else to add in, please comment it in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. And again, if we want to spread this message of Guru Sahib to as much people, just like the way the algorithms of these social media platforms work, we need you to like, we need you to comment, and we need you to share it. As soon as you share, like, and comment on all of these things, as soon as possible, the further this message gets to be sent. So please forgive me for anything I've said. Sari Sangat Fateh Parwan Karni ji. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa. Vaheguru ji ki Fateh.